for many people, the biggest shock yet with regards particularly to the Bola Tinubu government, especially when you look at it from the standpoint of the renewed hope agenda. Of course, the Oronsaye report has been almost 1 decade, coming since 2014. And there are people who have said, look, one of the things we must do, they've listed several things Nigeria must do, must find the courage to pursue if as a country we must move forward. They've talked about the need for us to come up with an entirely new constitution, not amending, or some people say patching the existing one, which is the 1999 constitution as amended. Others have said, well, we must also find the courage to go back to the CONFA reports of 2014, dust it up, and find a way to implement the recommendations there. Others say, well, in addition to that, which is in this case the third issue, is that the Oronsaye reports must be reviewed, and president after president must find a way, starting from President Jonathan himself in particular, all right, to take a closer look at these recommendations and find some political guts to implement the recommendations. But that never happened, even after former President Jonathan left office. Former President Muhammadu Buhari, the immediate past president, came into office for another 8 years, and none of these two gentlemen moved a pin as far as this report is concerned. But just 2 days ago, news came through that President Bola Tinubu has now directed a full implementation of the Oronsaye report. And that raises questions as to what exactly are the salient ingredients in this report. What are the issues that this report looked at? What are the recommendations contained therein? And lastly, the question of how will this implementation help make Nigeria a better place? I'm joined by an APC chieftain, a businessman, and someone who believes so staunchly in what the Tinubu government represents. Chief Chebuna, you say it's always a delight to have you on the program. Even though I know you're the mouthpiece of your political party here, but I know you also want to talk as a Nigerian who is in Nigeria and experiences whatever it is that's going on in the country right now. The Oronsaye report was something that I believe, it's very obvious that most Nigerians had even forgotten about, and people were basically not talking about it again. It looks like some people will say this is a move in the right direction. This is something long overdue. But there are people who are also now saying, well, maybe this is just President Tinubu trying to be politically correct.
Thank you very much. You know, one thing is that successive administrations, they know the problem of Nigeria. They know what to do.
Right.
But they fail to do them because they lack the political will and zeal to carry out what is appropriate and expedient, what to move Nigeria forward. Now we have a president who is a pan-Nigerian, who understands the problem of Nigeria, and who has seen that these problems have lingered over the years and need to be solved. He has the political will and he wants to solve the problem of Nigeria. Yes, there are pains that will be associated with it, but he's taking them one after the other. Look at the Oronsaye report. Former President Jonathan set up the committee. The committee finished their work, submitted the report. He had time to, implement it. He couldn't. The his successor, the immediate past administration came, set up a white paper committee to look at the report and review it and know what the government take from the ones government will do and the ones government will not do. After that, nothing happened. But the government of President Bola Tinubu came on board because he has already x-rayed the problems of Nigeria. And we have been shouting, cutting the cost of governance. He knows where and where to touch to cut the cost of governance. Now he has ordered that the report should be implemented to the letter. We should give him kudos. We should support him. We should applaud him. What others lack the will to do, he is doing it for the betterment of Nigeria. Nigerians should thank him. They should be very, very grateful that there is a man that has the balls to do what others have failed to do for the betterment and progress of Nigeria.
Okay, this is going to get a bit more complicated because right from the onset, we saw that there are some very brutal recommendations in that report. For example, merger of agencies, merger of ministries, and so on and so forth. there's no magic wand for implementation as far as this report is concerned, is there?
If you have gone through the white paper, there are recommendations, because the report basically was recommendations to government.
Right.
Why government set up the white paper review committee is to pick the ones that are expedient and appropriate. Those that should be, the ministries, the agencies that should be scrapped, those that should be merged, who have overlapping functions, those that should be subsumed in the ministry. And government have picked the ones that are over 100, it's about 261 agencies or thereabout. The government have reduced them to about 161 or thereabout. And there are others. There are ones that will be merged. There are ones that should be scrapped, about 30-something or thereabout. And there are ones that should be subsumed in the ministry. The implementation wouldn't be a problem, because basically if you watch how they are, they have overlapping functions. The same different agencies doing the same thing. So bringing them together to synergize and do what they're supposed to do to reduce waste will not be difficult.
Nigeria has not had a very pleasant reputation for synergizing, to use a word, because we still see interagency rivalry up until this point, even when we have not started talking about merger of ministries and agencies and departments and so on and so forth. This is very important and quite technical, because these agencies have their own directors, have their own legislative structure, have their own bureaucracies, and so on and so forth. So that's going to pose a whole lot of challenge, because an analyst was talking on television a few nights ago, and he said one of the things that must happen is, like you mentioned, the President Tinubu government has found the political will to do the right thing at this very crucial time. But then must also realize that that will has to be extended to the point where the government knows for a fact that some people must be sent home by way of payoff. Otherwise, this merger, or what they will call merger and acquisition in the case of banks, for example, it's not going to see a light of day. But let's look at timeline, because you have said there are some of these agencies, these entities that must be merged, I mean, very expediently. Let's see how that will work, because we understand that red tape and bureaucracies are all associated with the civil service.
Now, let me tell you something. Unless government does not want to implement a policy, only they do not want to carry out a program. If government wants to implement a policy, they go all out to do it. Whether, yes, feathers will be ruffled, but the policy will be implemented for the good of Nigeria. So let us leave it out, whether the directors, because now, let me, like you said, interagency rivalry. An agency that is doing the same thing like agency A, B, doing something like agency A, there should be rivalry. But when you bring them together, you are doing the same thing I'm doing. So government knows how to streamline the operations as they are together to get the best results. Because of nomenclature, I am a director here, I am a DG, director general here, I am the executive secretary here. I don't know whether you get me. The same agency. Bringing them together, like in some of the agencies and commissions, government said they should go back to the ministry, in the report, should go back to the ministry and become a department. I don't know whether you get me.
So those agencies will become departments?
Some of them, yes, that will be subsumed in the ministry, will become departments in the ministry.
Which were hitherto
agencies or commissions. I don't know, but it is just nomenclature for me to be the DG, so that person will be making so much money and things like that, filtering away the resources of Nigeria that should have been used, plow back into something more meaningful for the economic development. So government knows what to do, and they've given a timeline. Within I think 12 weeks or about 3 or 4 months, everything will be done and streamlined, and you will see results.
Nigerians are hungry at this point in time. Even the APC has talked about how there's hunger in the land.
All of us.
Yes, and now we're talking about the Oronsaye report. Does that not sound too academic for a hungry man? No,
it doesn't. Because those are the things that contributed to the hunger. So if you want to solve the problem of hunger, you start from, where the problem began.
The Nigerians were not so hungry at that time, were they? A decade ago.
They were not so hungry because they were eating their future. Now we have gotten to where we're supposed to have a future. There is no future. So how do we solve the problem? So we start from the beginning to remove those bottlenecks, those man-made bottlenecks created, those impediments. We should dismantle them so that there will be food, enough food. By this program alone of restructuring the agencies and merging them, scrapping some, government will save over 800 billion. That money will be plowed back into the economy. Will be invested in economic stimulating programs that will benefit Nigerians, not individuals.
But that was the same story Nigerians were told, that whatever savings we made from the removal of fuel subsidy will be plowed back into meaningful, forward-thinking initiatives. But this is 9 months exactly by tomorrow, and we haven't really moved away from where we had been 9 months earlier, have we? The
last time I was there, on 2 of that periods I was there, I asked you, look at the revenue that our governors and local governments are receiving monthly prior to, post subsidy removal. What are they doing with it? Government is saving money. The states are receiving more allocations, more funds. What are they doing with it? Local governments are receiving funds, more funds, allocations. Those are the things. If the states should, apply their funds judiciously, for the economic development of their states, there wouldn't be hunger, there wouldn't be problem. If local governments should apply these funds they are receiving judiciously to the development of the local government, there shouldn't be hunger, there shouldn't be complaint anywhere. But they get these funds, where do we see? We don't see anything, we don't see any project. Only few states you will see that are doing something. It is not the federal government. Government is receiving money, and that money comes into the federation account, and it is shared. I don't know whether you understand. So let us focus on our state governors. Let us shift more focus on our local government chairmen. What are they doing with these humongous amounts they are receiving monthly? The hunger is from the rural areas, not in the urban areas. I don't know whether you get me.
So people in Abuja, for example, are not hungry?
No. I'm going somewhere. The hunger is more because the states make up Nigeria. Local governments make up the states make up Nigeria. So if each state is doing what he's supposed to do, nobody will complain. We stay in Abuja and live in Abuja here. Abuja is made up of 6 local area councils. Is that not so?
Right.
If the local governments are applying their funds judiciously, will people complain? No.
Labour started its 2-day warning strike yesterday, and it enters the second, hopefully final day today. In the midst of all of these, who is listening to the conversation around the Oronsaye report right now?
Labour, they said they have suspended the demonstration today. They will now go on, press mobilization or whatever, conferences and whatever. That is their business. Whether let me just, before I answer your question, you see, like I told you the last time, most of these demonstrations by Labour are partisan and selfish. They are self-serving. They are not serving Nigerians. The crowd you see are mobilized to come out and demonstrate. Somebody somewhere is playing that drum. Like in this last exercise, it was very open that made TUC to pull out. If the demonstration was in the interest of Nigeria and the interest of the masses, the whole labor centers will come together and go on the demonstration. So whether some of them, they are listening to the Oronsaye report, they know what is right. The next president knows what is right, but because he wants to satisfy his paymaster, that is why he's doing what he's doing. The implementation of Oronsaye report will eliminate overlapping functions. It will eliminate duplications. It will engender productivity. It will engender the plowing back of our human and material resources, putting them to optimum use for greater productivity and for the development of Nigeria. Nobody who is sane in Nigeria that will not applaud this policy of federal decision of the federal government led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
That's the challenge. I know we're not here to talk about the NLC protest and all of the issues regarding labor, FG relations and so on and so forth. But how is it that when the same labor would protest when the APC had not taken over power, it was fine. They were doing it in the interest of Nigeria. Now they do it when the APC is in power. It is the paymasters who are beating the drums for them.
When you look at the trajectory of the protests, like I said in the last time I was here, I said most of those demonstrations and strikes or whatever are partisan in nature. They are partisan, as far as I'm concerned. It is not geared towards the betterment of the...
Has it always been like that with Labour since 1999, that every time they protested it was partisan?
It has been. To me, it has been. Because now you want me to enjoy better life, and you are subjecting me to suffering. Nigeria live on daily income. You will stop me from going out to eke out a living, make what I would use in taking care of my family and dependents. And then you say you are protecting for my interest. How do you marry the two? It doesn't work.
When Jonathan was president, we had Ministry of Works and Housing as a single entity. And then President Buhari comes in, he unbundles, so you have, I mean, he merges. Again, he adds power to Works and Housing, gives it to Fashola. And then he gets to a point where, I mean, second term, Fashola is left with just Works and Housing. Then President Tinubu comes into office, he unbundles. So you have Works, Housing, Power as separate entities. With regards to the Oronsaye reports and the implementation we are looking forward to, how much of work do we need to do to ensure that another president doesn't come tomorrow, looks at it and says, no way, we have to change this. I mean, we have to reverse whatever the previous government has done. Can we just stop the back and forth? Is that possible?
Some of the agencies were created by the act of the parliament, the act of National Assembly. So a bill will be presented to the National Assembly to amend the act, the law setting them up. I don't know what I get.
Very well.
So it will not be a case of somebody will come tomorrow and begin to let us, if you want to reverse, you go to National Assembly again, which I don't find no sane person will come tomorrow.
Because it's rigorous.
Thank you very much. We want to do that. We are moving forward. We don't want to go backward. Then unbundling the ministries is for optimum performance. We could recall, like you said, when it was Ministry of Works, Housing and Power, the minister couldn't give out his best because nobody is a superhuman. Now you unbundle them for each one to do work according, to deliver on his mandate. We will have more results, more positive results when they work, because they don't have overlapping functions. Works is different, housing is different, power is different. So let them work independently. And in this, agency rationalization by the Oronsaye report, the agencies under these ministries that have overlapping functions, some will be subsumed in the ministry. Some will be merged with others to deliver on their mandates.
Is it possible that we can extend this same political will, like you called it a while ago, behind calling for the full implementation of the Oronsaye report to the Confab report from 2014, or are those issues the elephant in the room?
Well, I am not the spokesman of the government.
Right.
Regarding the Confab report, well, if government deems it expedient that something should be done about it, they will do something about it.
There's the issue of resource control, which is very vital in the Confab reports. I mean, it's strongly recommended. Yeah. But then some people, particularly in the APC, say, well, the PIA has addressed the issue of resource control. But resource control is not just about Niger Delta alone. Yeah. It's not just about oil and gas alone. Yeah. It's also about several other resources that this country has been blessed with by God himself. Yeah. Right. So how do we also ensure that we continue to find willpower to implement some of these things? For example, there has been the issue of restructuring. Again, that's, you would agree, is the elephant in the room, even for the APC right now. What does restructuring mean for the APC? Because I don't have a handle on all of the elements contained in the Renewed Hope agenda. I mean, you're an insider of the APC. Does the APC even have conversations around restructuring at all?
We have talked about this thing about restructuring. Restructuring, that word means different things to different people.
What does it mean for the APC as a whole? On that
I am coming. Yes. Are we talking about political restructuring, or are we talking about economic restructuring?
But they go hand in hand, don't they? They are like siamese.
No, they do not go hand in hand. Economic restructuring entails that more economic powers should be devolved
to the regions,
to the states, and local governments. Political restructuring entails that more political power should be devolved to the states, to the regions, to the local government. But some people want a wholesale, a kind of a balkanization of Nigeria. Let this region be on its own secession. Let this other region be. Then you pay a tax to the center. I don't buy that idea. God that made Nigeria, brought us together, did not make a mistake. I gave an instance the other time that the United States of America, what makes them thick and big is their size.
And diversity.
And diversity. The same thing is applicable in Nigeria. Let us use our diversity and size to develop Nigeria. God created Nigeria with contingency margin. I did say this in the other time. With one eye, somebody can see. But God gave us two for optimum sight. With one leg, one can walk. But God gave two for optimum mobility. With one hand, one can do something. But God gave us two so that we can perform better. With one kidney, one can survive. But God gave two. Why? Contingent, making provision for to when one can do. So God brought us together, Nigerians, to supply each other's deficiencies for optimum performance and development as a country. Let us use our diversity as a selling point for our unity to develop Nigeria for the good of all. Secession will not do anybody good. It will not. The countries that have seceded, how have they fared? Look at South Sudan that seceded from Sudan. Have they fared better? They have not. They have the same religious affinity. They have the same language and cultural affinity. Still, they are fighting every day. In our villages and towns, we fight, we quarrel. We have the same cultural, religious, whatever language affinity, and we quarrel. So what makes us feel that when we secede and everybody reach region, be on your own, you will fare better? Let us use our diversity as a selling point for our unity. Let us develop Nigeria together. Let everybody, properly harness his endowment for the development of Nigeria.
You talked about savings a while ago, that when we are able to implement ultimately the Oronsaye reports, Nigeria will save a lot of money. 800 billion was the figure that we've been hearing, and so on and so forth. But even though we know those numbers can be questionable depending on who is analyzing and what the standpoints are, how do we also ensure that these monies, beyond just further distributing them to the states and we're saying, okay, go and meet your governor, go and meet your governor, what are some of the practical ways, not political correctness, that we can pursue, that we can follow to be able to monitor and follow these monies in such a way that we ensure they are judiciously used?
The government have put in place checks and balances to monitor expenditure, monitor income. And government is saving money too. So it is left for government to know areas that are of urgent need, that these monies will be plowed or invested in, that will bring immediate results, because there is immediate short and long-term results. Which one will give us immediate results? Is it immediate result we are looking for, or are we looking for short-term results or long-term results? So it behoves government to decide in their wisdom on what they should do in the immediate, in the short term and long term, for the betterment of Nigeria. But I believe government is going to do his best for the betterment of Nigeria.
But it doesn't look like the implementation of these reports, the Oronsaye reports, as we've been talking about, is immediate, because it will appear this is also, on some level, a knee-jerk approach by the government to say, okay, what are some things we can do real quick for Nigerians, for us to alleviate or ameliorate the hardship that Nigerians are experiencing? So the government quickly rushes to pick up the Oronsaye report and says, let's see how we can implement this. Is that short term?
No,
That's not
it is in the immediate. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, how is that?
Let me tell you something, because as the order has been given,
yes,
work is going on now. Work is already going on.
Are we going to see payoff in the next few weeks?
Well, I cannot say for sure, but work is going on. Watch and see what will happen in the coming days and weeks. Because for government to come out, before they came up with, implement it, they have done their homework. They've done what needed to be done. Government is not sleeping. Mr. President is not sleeping. Those around him that works with him are not sleeping. What we are passing through is giving them sleepless nights. They themselves are feeling it. Because if you are a wealthy man in the midst of poor people, you are a poor person. The poor people will rise up one day against you. You cannot go out. I don't know whether you get me. From our villages and towns where we are, God blessed us. We know people we are assisting, carrying along, whatever. If it is only you that is shouldering the responsibility, you are poor. You cannot sleep. So Mr. President is not sleeping. Those in his government are not sleeping. They all are working, 247 to ensure that this logjam, socio-economic logjam we have been in for over the years, is taken care of and the impediments dismantled for us to enjoy a better Nigeria.
When some critical aspects of CBN and FAN operations were announced to be moved to Lagos for optimal efficiency, some people came out even on national television to speak up against it. Now we say we want to implement Oronsaye reports. Are we also going to, are we back to the Lagos boys narrative? I'm sure you know what I mean.
That time I did tell you that it was intellectual dishonesty and intellectual laziness, laced with ethnocentric ideas that brought about that. Government has agencies that works, and they know where the agencies will be to give out its best. And government in their wisdom says, go here. This is where the bulk of your work is. Right. You go there, so you do your work. Because those are things that you are contributing to, high cost of governance. You are in Abuja. Your work is in Lagos. You fly every day or every week to Lagos, you fly, you'll be ported in a big hotel, government is paying the bit, it's not coming from you. Then when you finish, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, you come back, consider the amount. Government say, no, we can't continue like that. We have an office in Lagos that is bigger than what we have here. And the bulk of the work we are doing is that place. Go there and do your work. People raise issues, deceiving people, carrying out propaganda. I call it a confederacy of evil conspiracy against government.
But some of those people are members of your party?
Yes. That's why I tell you that being a member of my party does not denude one of that inherent deceit. You cannot change an adult overnight now. You can't change an adult overnight. That you're a member of my party, it's like when we are in school, say, you pass through school and allow the school to pass through you. Some are in our party, they don't want to pass through the party and they pass through them. I don't know whether you get me. They still maintain that they are stoic, satanic behavior. But let's see what happens. Government stood this ground and took the. Are we not seeing did anybody complain again? Now, again, this Oronsaye report, it is long overdue, its implementation. And government has taken the bull by the horn by saying, go ahead and implement it. We are implementing it now. And they have set machinery in motion, that work is going on. It will be implemented. If anybody wants to cry, no problem. There is nowhere you carry out reforms that some people will not be affected. All over the world, some people will be affected. But it is for the good of the generality of Nigerians. What matters is the interest of the generality of Nigerians. The economy of Nigeria, the socio-economic health of Nigeria, the development and progress of Nigeria. That is what matters.
I hope we continue to, of course, it's a certain thing that we'll continue to monitor the progress as implementation is done. One of the senior aides to the president was talking about how that modalities will be put in place to ensure not only that implementation kickstarts, but that monitoring and all of the KPIs are set and so on and so forth. Chief Chairman, I will say a big thank you to you for honoring us with your time this morning on the show.
Thank you so much.
We're taking a quick break. When we return, we'll take a look at the hardship, the economic hardship that is in Nigeria right now, and how agriculture can, who knows, become a panacea for it. My guest will help us find sense in the noise. I will be back shortly. thank you everyone for staying with us. I just spoke with an APC chieftain a while ago about the Oronsaye reports and what the challenge of implementation will be, even in the face of the challenges the country is grappling with. We're sure that Nigerians, for the most part, will have an eye out to see how governments will roll out modalities to drive the full implementation of this report that President Bola Tinubu has ordered. We hope to see cooperation with the civil service. We hope to see cooperation with the ministers and all of their aides, and then see how these ministries, departments, and agencies of government will collaborate and ensure that they put the best interests of Nigeria and Nigerians first. We'll take a quick break now so we can bring you a newspaper review. Time to take a look at the papers. We'll begin with daily trusts for you this morning in the program. Three headlines just beneath the nameplate. All right, the first one here reads, CBN resumes sale of dollars to BDCs, raises interest rates to 22.75%. Recall that the NPR, that is the monetary policy rate, had stood at 18.27% until yesterday, when the MPC, that is the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN, met, and then the decision was taken to review upwards. And now we understand that review saw a 400 basis points increase, and that has consequently left the MPR, the monetary policy rates, at 22.75%. All right. Another headline here says mixed reactions trail Tinubu's approval of Oronsaye reports. Meningitis kills 20 students in Yobe. We understand the health authorities are already responding to this emergency. Star story on the front page of Daily Trust reads, cost of living crisis, NLC suspends protests. A counter rally in Abuja, police halts demonstration in Maiduguri, Lagos CP gives water biscuits to protesters. Army court martials, 1 officer, 16 soldiers over gun running in Jos. 5 killed, 26 rescued in Onitsha collapsed building. Such a sad story. Police arrest wanted kidnap kingpin in Nasarawa. All right, that's so much from the Daily Trust for you today. And then we have The Guardian as well. Okay, front page of The Guardian newspaper, it reads, MPC decision concerns for OPS as CBN moves against inflation, Naira speculators. That's Star Stories on page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. Senate begins probe of Buhari government's 30 trillion naira loan Ajakuta steal. Details await you on page 3 if you pick up a copy of the paper today. Gunmen kill village head, policemen, others in Nasarawa. NLC suspends protest, gives FG 2-week ultimatum to address hardship others. Hardship, Makinde joins as workers protest in Oyo, Osun, Ondo, Ekiti. Mixed reactions trail Tinubu's implementation of Oronsaye's reports. Why is the announcement of full implementation of that report seeing mixed reactions? Well, you will find out if you read it up on page 5 of today's issue of The Guardian newspaper. 5 died, 26 rescued in Onisha markets, building collapse. That sad story is replicated across newspapers this morning. Blackout, residents, businesses in dire straits over high tariffs on electricity generator use. All right, that's all the headlines from today's Guardian, but we'll have 2 more papers to go. The penultimate one is the Punch newspaper, and then we start with stories above the name plates. This headline here has got a picture of CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso. It reads, interest rate hike, private sector economists foresee fresh job losses, recession. And then the headline features a rider that says CBN clears $400 million debt, plans tough sanction for banks to tackle excess money supply. A 50th anniversary photo exhibition opens today. Shoyinka delivers lecture Thursday. That's talking about the Punch newspaper 50th anniversary. Presidency alleges political agenda as protests hit states. 2 riders here for you. The first one says, no unanimity in protests. Some people leveraging current situation for political gains, says presidential aide. Police share biscuits, water at Lagos protests. NLC urges Tinubu to end extreme hardship, feed crisis. Let's take it to the bottom of the front page of the Punch. FG completes $700 million gas pipeline in March after 8 years. 3 bodies recovered, 11 rescued as Lagos boat capsizes. Senate to probe Ajaokuta steel over $496 million payments. Who was that payment made to? For what purpose? Well, you can read it up on, let's see that for you, page 21, if you are with today's Punch newspaper. All right, our last paper is the Vanguard this morning. Okay, on the front page of the Vanguard here, we see a picture of the now, on the front page of the Vanguard, we see a picture of the now candidates, governorship candidate of the PDP in the election, governorship election in Edo State that is scheduled by INEC for 21st of September, Dr. Aswe Ighodalo there. Suspicious, that's above the nameplate now, suspicious $26 billion passed through Binance Nigeria in 1 year. That's according to CBN Governor Cardoso. Edo Guba Ighodalo begs Shaibu others for support, promises inclusive government. As PDP hands him certificates of return, more crisis in LP as Imaswagbon claims victory. Abga is party to beat Osifo. CBN jerks up benchmark interest rates to 22.75%, begins weekly sale of $15.7 million to 785 BDCs. Lagos shorts third mainland bridge for 24 hours. Tinubu explains petrol subsidy removal decision. All right, the big story says NLC gives 17-point demand to Tinubu, suspends protests. Makinde joins protest in Oyo, says there is anger in the land, protest needless. That's according to presidency, says legitimate concerns being addressed. What's more now, then you go down to the foot of the front page, says columnists, Nania, Usman, Sarki, then you have Fason, you have Oko and Diabumi. So these are all the items that you find if you pick up a copy of today's issue of the Vanguard newspaper. Incidentally, that's a wrap on the papers for you, and it brings the show to an end this morning. But remember, we continue to follow the conversations here on topical issues on global television, and the views of our guests are their opinions, and Global TV has no position on these conversations that we have across all of our programs. I'm Uyag Mofwebe, thanking you, so especially on behalf of all my colleagues here at Global TV for watching. Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with the ASIS strike.
You have done your work, you have put us to the wall. We are not the slaves.
I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.